There's been a lot of pushback indirectly through the journalist. A lot of media stories written. Some of those journalists that wrote bad things, they're starting to change their tune now. The list of the properties that were bought by crime intelligence are part attached to a statement. If you're not in possession of the DA statement that she issued, she attached that report. That is on one, which is issued by her. The second one I read to you yesterday. The questions that she asked in your portfolio committee, which she shouldn't have. Perhaps you should have told her that, colleague, this question does not belong. But it went through your portfolio committee to the police, and the response came in the same fashion. You said, honorable member, that is your colleague. So I will not be surprised if you somehow would want to protect her. But awesome. I said yesterday when I presented that Ms. Cora Barnard, Honorable Cora Barnard, should be politically correct in this house, that she was sworn in as a member of the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence last year, or previous administration. I'm sure you know that. She was a member there. So she knows what crime intelligence does. So when she becomes aware of this thing from the newspaper, she has an obligation as a lawmaker to approach a relevant committee and say, question number one, how does News 24 get hold of this?
Nothing. Sure, I would do honestly.
This must be your happiest moment.
My happiest moment. So that you're going to give me a 5-minute extra, Chair. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a wonderful birthday present. Good afternoon, General. Thank you very much for attending this meeting with us. You alleged that there was deliberate obstruction of justice within the system. Can you perhaps share with us some documentary evidence that the minister or any other senior officials deliberately obstructed justice? You have documentary evidence.
Honorable members, the one is a letter that we talk about, the 31st of December 2024 letter. And the others are letters that are written by General Sbiya, directed to Jaro Khumalo. If you look at the NSM annexure on volume 2, you're going to find them as referenced. The first one being the 31st December letter is annexed at NSM 5 on page 78 to 79. And other one information that we have is NSM 8, which is on page 223 to 224.
General, perhaps let me just clarify, besides the official letters that you have in your possession, you don't have any other documentary evidence?
Well, the one is not here, it's WhatsApp communications. They are not here with me, but the team can make them available if required. But that's another documented evidence that we have.
Thank you, General. So, I mean, you've said that on the 2nd of January, you were informed about the letter. How did it come to your knowledge?
It came through a WhatsApp. Someone that is close to me sent it to me on WhatsApp.
And are you willing to disclose who that person is to us or not?
No, I did not talk to him to ask if I should mention his name. I don't think he'll be comfortable with it.
Thank you. You repeatedly use the term political interference, yet you also concede that the minister has constitutional powers to determine policing policy. Where precisely do you think we should draw the line between policy and interference?
I think we need to visit the legislation, honorable members, that will be able to help you. I spoke about the Police Act earlier, and I made a reference to the office of this a Director General that is responsible civilian secretariat in the police. If that office is given the duties and the tasks that it's supposed to perform, then the minister need not to worry about things, because if there's anything in doubt on the minister's head, he must go to the DG. But the minister doesn't do that. The minister will have a legal advisor in his office. He will rely on the legal advisor in the office. The minister will have a chief of staff. He relies on a chief of staff. A matter of fact, honorable chair and members, We were at one stage where I started realizing that something amiss is happening in this organization. When a minister sanctioned the management of the SAPS to go to give its croon place in Pretoria, I'm sure some of you might know the place. We gathered there, and the entire senior management of the police was called. When we arrived there, the generals from the head office were told to be excused, except the deputies. So all the divisional commissioners had to pack their bags. They arrived there in the morning thinking there's a meeting because they were called, and next thing they were told they're not needed in a meeting. They left. We sat there and we listened to the presentation, and to be honest, honorable chair and members, I've been in the organization for this long. I joined the top management of the SCPS in 2011. What I experienced there in that meeting when the advisor of the minister, Advocate Piccoli, was giving us a lecture about the very same act that we've been enforcing for so many years, was giving us a lecture about the powers of the minister, was giving us a lecture about what the minister can or cannot do. I saw that presentation as intimidation to us, to say to us, must toe the line because the minister, exactly in your words, he has a constitutional right to do this and that and that. So that was a preparation of something. When I walked out of that meeting, the very same meeting, as I walked out, I told the National Commission, something is cooking here. Something is happening here. And I went to Gerald Kumalo and the team were outside. I said, you better be prepared. There's a war coming. I cannot tell what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But from coming on this boardroom, coming out of this meeting, having listened to what Advocate Piccolo was presenting before us, you can't come and tell us about Section 205 of the Constitution, Section 206 of the Constitution. We are senior managers of the organization. We went to PAR to be taught about that. We went to university, some of us, to go and study that. We are practicing that every single day. We are appointed in terms of the very same sections of the Constitution. So who are you now to come and tell us? Advocate Piccoli, you think we don't know that? You are trying to influence us to be believing that when the minister takes a certain decision, it's within his powers. So I suspected from that meeting. I cannot remember the date. I'll give you the date of that meeting. Maybe we must get the presentation also of that meeting that Advocate Piccoli presented to management of the SAPS. And then you wonder, from that presentation, you can conclude that there was a preparation of something to say that the minister can now intervene. The Police Act outlines exactly what the civilian secretariat head must do. One of them is to give the legal advice to the minister. But in all these engagements, you don't see the DG's buoy in that mix. There's nothing about the task team letter. He's not there, the civilian secretariat. There's nothing about any reforms the minister wants to introduce, presentation to us as management, the meetings of the 6th with the PKTT and the National Commission here. I don't think DG's buoy was part of that. The minister hasn't. So every decision the minister has ever taken, he has never taken the DG, who's a civilian secretariat in his office, with him to take these decisions going forward. So the legislation provides for it. Why is he not using it? So what else can then Parliament do if the executive order is empowered by legislation, but the executive order chooses not to use it? Do you blame the legislature? No, you can't blame the legislature. There's a provision for it, but he ignores it. So honestly, when it comes to this, I will argue that the minister cannot come and claim that I have a constitutional or legal authority to shut down teams.
Thank you, General. I think it will be important for us to get the date of that meeting so we can just have some further clarity there. You've also indicated that the minister had never been briefed on the PKTT's work before issuing the directive. However, you yesterday indicated that you're aware that General Khumalo held meetings with the minister and the National Commissioner after the 6th of March. How do you know that prior meetings did not take place regarding the PKTT? And do you have any documentary evidence to prove the contrary?
Up until I started questioning about the case dockets that were taken to Pretoria, only then I became aware of meetings that had taken place. Because these meetings were held in Pretoria as early as January. They were held, I think, in February, and there were meetings in March and late March. I was not informed about all those meetings until such time, and I said, National Commissioner, I need a statement under oath about these dockets that have been taken away and the team been shut. shut down, that whether did you authorize it or not. That's when I became aware that there was a proposal which was not taken by the minister of agreeing to his letter, but in the terms that the National Commissioner wanted to introduce. And the minister did not agree to that. And therefore, I think they realize that if that is not done, because I already said it on the 5th year that you shut down the unit, you stop investigation, you're committing a crime. Here in Parliament, I said that. And I don't know whether maybe that is that what National Commission end up saying, you know what, I'm no longer going to entertain or make any new proposal to the minister. Let him allow Jerome Mkwanazi to do what he want to do.
Thank you, General. So you allege that the crime intelligence has been in crisis since 2011 and that we're seeing similar patterns now since then or to that time. At that time, then, the Minister of Police, Norton Tweto, may his soul rest in peace, had ordered the closure of the Cato Manor unit. Would it be accurate to say that the current closure of the PKTT mirrors that situation?
I don't think I get the question correctly with regard to the Cato Manor versus the PKTT. If the member can repeat that, just so we can understand exactly the question.
The Cato Manor unit was closed down by the Minister of Police at that time. Is that correct or incorrect?
I'm not sure whether it was closed by the Minister of Police. I think the former general who was in charge of that team might come and explain. But what I know is that the members that were working at the Cato Manor, they were arrested, most of them. I think that's what led into the unit not working anymore. I doubt whether there was any directive for the unit to be shut down.
So you earlier indicated that there are detectives that were rotated to root out corruption, as some were found to be involved in illegal activities within the PKTT. How many members are we speaking of? Have they been charged for any wrongdoing, and are they still in the SAPS?
I think, honorable members, I won't be able to give you the exact number right now and the whereabouts of these members. Safe to say that quite a lot of these police officers, I think somewhere in the 30s, that were arrested and charged. Whether they're still within the service or out of the service, I'll be wrong if I say upfront that they are gone, all of them, or they are still in custody or not. It's some information I can make available, maybe through the portfolio committee. I can share that, or through the chairperson here, the Joint Standing Committee, the ad hoc committee. If it's needed, then we can provide that information.
General, you state that the 121 dockets were removed from the PKTT on Lieutenant General Sabia's instruction, allegedly acting under the minister's orders. Did you record any formal objection in writing or open an internal investigation at that time to safeguard those case files and their evidential integrity, considering that most of them do come from your province?
Yeah, well, I never communicated anything to the minister, never spoke to the minister, neither did Gerald Sibia. The only thing I did was to write to Gerald Kumalo to ask him about this, what I'm hearing, about the dockets that have been taken to Pretoria and the reason for that, and he gave me the response on that. And subsequent to that, I wrote to the NPA in the province because they had given us directive to arrest people. And so I had to tell the NPA that we have failed them, when we have failed our clients because we have not arrested anyone, simply because the dockets were moved to Pretoria, so they were not in a position to do that. So those are the correspondences that I had. But other than that, mine was to try to engage the minister through an informal way, which is engaging the National Commission. I would not have formally written to the minister and asked for a meeting and discussing this thing. When I ended up sending him in a WhatsApp, it was a desperate move to get the minister's attention.
Thank you, General. I actually want to ask you about that because you did mention that you attend regular meetings of the Board of Commissioners. And surely such explosive allegations affect all of your commissioners. It's not just one province. Don't you think that it would have been appropriate for you to address it at that platform or sought assistance from your colleagues in the Board of Commissioners?
I said earlier when I appeared before you yesterday that, honorable members, the BOC, by law, it's supposed to be National Commission, Provincial Commissioners. But in reality, it is not. It's the National Commissioner and every other Lieutenant General, including Major Generals at the head office. The agenda is prescribed and is available for the members to look at it if you so wish. There are matters that have been tabled in that BOC for noting and some of them for discussion amongst others. But as a provincial commissioner, we might have an opinion in that meeting, but the majority might vote against you. Let me give you an example of it. Example of it is when the Prim of Gauteng, with a good intention to fight crime in the province of Gauteng, but they started a unit that by law should not exist. The Mapanya that is famous. I raised that at the BOC, and I said, this is illegal. It's against the law. The Premier must be advised. He's got good intentions, but it cannot be done. The law doesn't allow it. The very same senior managers in the police says, no, just leave the Premier alone. We like this proposal. The following BOC, legal services came up with a presentation, and they argued the same thing that I argued. Legal services. They presented that which is done in Gauteng, it's against the law. It should not be allowed. So this was when there was an engagement at the executive authority between the minister and the Premier at the time. But already these members were trained, and they were said to be part of the provincial law enforcement structure. So my argument in the BOC and the support from legal services was not taken serious at the BOC. So they continue with the training. But because legal services had already taken note of it, they went to the minister, said, Minister, you cannot sign this off. It's against the law. Obvious, the Premier and Gauteng one was not very pleased when the minister clearly didn't want to sign that. And as a result, to date, that unit, those group of members could not be incorporated into the Police Act as a result. So they are still there in Gauteng. I'm not sure whether they are enforcing the law or what they're doing in Gauteng, but legally they're not supposed to be there. So what I think at the time, which I even said and I sponsored the meeting, is that you cannot then as a province compare yourself with what's happening at municipality. I think there was a competition between what's happening at the city of Cape Town, which by law can have such a law enforcement structure. In terms of Metro Police and law enforcement, it's the Act, Police Act provides for that. But the provincial government is not provided for. The legislation doesn't allow it. So I think when it was adopted in Gauteng, it could be perhaps because there were many metros in Gauteng that are not necessarily controlled at the provincial level, or they don't have necessarily a relationship with the leadership at the provincial level because of political dynamics in the province. In relation to Western Cape, where the provincial government and the local government is the same political party. And therefore, the local government with the law enforcement gets more support even from the provincial level. So therefore, that's why there's no interest of initiating something else at the provincial level. They are fine with it being at the municipality level. So I think that's where the challenge was. It's a good initiative, I must say again, that was started in Gauteng, but unfortunately, it was not in line with the law. So you have it, then you appear yourself in POC and you present things like they get shut down. This, I must say, the issue of the political task of the closure of the team was not necessarily discussed in that BOC. There was never an agenda item to discuss that. The agenda items at BOC are things that are prescribed that we're engaging on, not operational things in details. So this one did not get a time in any of the BOCs.
Thank you, General. General, you said that the members of the crime intelligence will be forced to defend themselves and that the best way to do so is to tell the truth, and that when the truth comes out, this country will burn. You made that statement yesterday. Can you clarify exactly what truth you are referring to and why you believe it would have such a devastating impact on our country?
Honorable Chair and members, when the intelligence community operate, in order for them to be able to protect the citizens of this country, they must apply covert strategies that when you become aware of it, you might not approve of it. But they are necessary to protect the citizens. They are necessary to protect the country. So it is that which I was talking about, that when a safe house is rented for a particular individual for the sole purpose of protecting that person, and the safe house is then rented for this person to go and stay there. If it comes out in a public place, a typical example might come if for whatever reason, intelligence feels that the best way to hide this person against these criminals is in Camps Bay here next door. But the property that is found in Camps Bay, it cost 50,000 rands a month. And when it's presented before the citizen that we are renting a property for 50,000 rand a month, the first question is going to be asked is, why did you choose that one? Because it's so expensive. Any 3 quotations that you've used, why did you go for that one alone? You should have advertised this thing open in a tender so that you comply with the act in terms of procurement. So all these questions end up being asked. Whereas you want to hide this person. So you can't have a luxury of advertising. You go there specific, said, I want to use your facility in a safe. We've identified it safe enough to protect this person. We put this person here. They negotiate on the side the cost of that and they put a person in it. But if it comes in open, you're going to start asking whether was this in line with the law. If it's not in line with the law, then you've broken the law. If you want to do this, you must go this fashion, you do this, and that will defeat the purpose of protecting such information. I'm using that as a typical example because it applies. The cost associated with it is one thing. The next thing will be whose properties that you are renting. That's why I said yesterday, you're going to hear the names of the owners of properties. Of some of them might be in this hall where we're at. And then you're going to say, yeah, you rented Mkwanazi's property because of corruption. Yes, it's Mkwanazi's property, but it might have been a proper property to use at the time. That's why we chose that one. Unfortunately, Mkwanazi did not declare that when he submitted his financial statements at the end of the financial year on his disclosure, because he's not supposed to, because this is a COVID operation. He might disclose it on another platform, but not there through SARS and the likes. So those are some of the examples that I'm using. There are many examples where you acquire something, you go and buy a vehicle directly from a garage, a Lamborghini. And then you're going to ask question, why do you buy a Lamborghini for a police operation? We don't understand as citizen, but because the intelligence wanted to infiltrate the Lamborghini crew. So you can't come with a test to mingle with the people that drive Lamborghinis. They must come with a Lamborghini as well to be in there. Until that operation is done, then we dispose of the Lamborghini somewhere else. So those are some of the examples that I can use, but there are many things that the intelligence community do to protect you and me that are done without necessarily following the same legislations that you pass here that you know of. They will know about it at Joint Standing Committee, not you. But it's within the law. Even with the Auditor General of South Africa, when it comes to audit, it's not every auditor that is allowed to walk in and audit there. It's certain categorized auditors that have gotten access. So they audit, they produce report, and those reports are classified. You'll never see the Auditor General of South Africa standing before South African and talk about that budget and the audit done there. They won't say it. They'll produce report and keep quiet because it's a nature, not only for South Africa, all over the world. That's how it works.
General, I mean, your press briefing was bold. I don't know if I could put it another way. Obviously, there must be some of your senior colleagues and superiors within the police that did not take kindly to this disclosure, obviously. Do you have any records such as emails or memorandums or reports or threats even that you've received after this statement of yours on not only on your life, but that of your family? And, you know, what pushback have you received?
From my colleagues?
Yes.
I have not received any pushback from my colleagues directly. I like to believe indirectly, yes, I did, except Jairus Bia, who went on a national TV and started saying that I want to be a minister, that I shouldn't challenge a minister. I think that's a mistake they made by making a minister to sign a letter thinking we won't challenge it. That was his mistake. He thought we cannot challenge that because it's signed by the minister, and he was wrong. So other than him, the rest of the colleagues that directly coming to me with things, no, I cannot say there was any pushback, but there's been a lot of pushback indirectly through the journalist. A lot of media stories written. Some of those journalists that wrote bad things, they're starting to change their tune now. And they start connecting the dots themselves. which is interesting for me because, well, if they made a mistake, they must acknowledge that and be objective about things. That is just one, but it remains known that there is a relationship between some of the police officers with some people out there that speaks a lot. Whether those people that speaks a lot, they are doing those things being informed by police officers or not, I cannot confirm for now. But I know that Mr. Paul O'Sullivan is one of the very close friend of Charles Beer, business partner, doing whatever thing they do together. The intelligent man in the country that is allowed by the state security or the intelligence community of this country to do as he pleases in this country. Because he brings in listening devices, he does as he pleases. And nobody bothers challenging him. And that is unfortunate. So he's one of the people that came very vocal on TV shortly after I made that press briefing. So whether was that voluntarily to defend Beer or was it due to Jairus Beer asking him to do that? I don't know. But I know very well that there's been a pushback indirectly from some of my colleagues.
Thank you, General. General, then I'm going to go to the allegations that you've made against my colleague, Diane Kohler-Barnard. You've accused her of misusing intelligence information. Have you seen any official classified documentation that is labeled with the information on that you cite is in fact being classified?
The list of the properties that were bought by crime intelligence are part attached to a statement. If you're not in possession of the DA statement that she issued, she attached that report. That is on one, which is issued by her. The second one I read to you yesterday, the questions that she asked in your portfolio committee, which she shouldn't have. Perhaps you should have told her that, colleague, this question does not belong. But it went through your portfolio committee to the police, and the response came in the same fashion. So those are some of the one examples that I can bring up now. Anything else that Ms. Kohler-Barnard might be involved with, I think we'll leave it to in-camera discussions with the bodies that's supposed to. Because the nice thing is that people travel and they meet, and wherever they meet, there's cameras. And wherever they meet, there are people that are observing. And wherever they talk, there are footprints left on phones. Even if they delete messages, we retrieve them.
Thank you, General. I just would like to say that you have admitted that the information that you raised in the media statement, which was before the JSCI was constituted, was in the public domain, including the photos, because I went to go and look at News 24's article that came out before the honorable member put out the media statement, and the information in actual fact is similar. So she obviously got some of it from the media statement, including the photos, although we didn't, or let me not say we, whoever put out the statement did not post the photos. So on what basis then do you say that that information that was derived from a News 24 article was unlawfully disclosed if it came from the media itself?
You said, honorable member, that is your colleague. So I will not be surprised if you somehow would want to protect her. But
Awesome.
I said yesterday when I presented that Ms. Kohler-Barnard, Honorable Kohler-Barnard, should be politically correct in this house, that she was sworn in as a member of the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence last year, or previous administration. I'm sure you know that. She was a member there. So she knows what crime intelligence does. So when she becomes aware of this thing from the newspaper, she has an obligation as a lawmaker to approach a relevant committee and say, question number one, how does News 24 get hold of this? That is a responsible lawmaker. How does News 24? You cannot spread crime simply because it's not started by you. If there's a porn movie, someone makes a porn of an underage child, and you receive it and you circulate it further, you are participating in a criminal offense. You cannot use that as an excuse that it was already in the media, so therefore I have a right to share it further. Besides the fact that she was a member of the Joint Standing Committee before it was dissolved. She was there. She's a member of this House of Parliament, as an MP, have taken an oath. So having the knowledge of what is happening at the secret fund account and having a knowledge about her obligations as a member of Parliament, and later in the year, in June, she's been sworn in again at the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence as a member there, but she still writes questions about things that does not concern the Portfolio Committee on Police. So I do not know with all what I presented, if there's anything else evidential that I should give it to you that might be of satisfactory to prove that she broke the law.
General, I just want to put it to you that it is our responsibility as parliamentarians to ask questions. I'm just making a statement. It is our responsibility to ask questions and to submit questions and to go to the media. So there's nothing, I mean, you acknowledge that Honorable Kola Barnard wrote to the Inspector General of Intelligence, which was the correct oversight channel. So there's nothing, what do you think was unlawful about her conduct if she actually did write to the IG as she was supposed to do?
Honorable Chair, honorable members, I'm going to repeat again. The evidence I presented before you should be enough to prove that I said she issued a statement with a sensitive information. Her political party, Democratic Alliance, issued a statement and said, when she did that, there was no committee. I came here yesterday and I said, that is not an excuse because she had taken an oath prior to that. So she knows the processes there. The fact that there was no committee is no excuse. But whatever that may be, I passed that. And I brought her back into the time when she was then sworn in the same committee this year. She's a member of that committee. I'm sure you agree with me, Honorable. But she still asks questions that are outside, that are the responsibility of that committee, but she asks those questions outside. What is the reason for that? That which I presented yesterday. 3 questions about these properties, even addresses. So when you ask a question like this in the Portfolio Committee on Police, it's a public thing. You are writing, a person who sees that question is a public thing already. You are disclosing that through the question in Parliament. You cannot therefore come and use a protection of Parliament and say, I'm an MP, I'm allowed to ask questions. You're asking questions in the wrong place. So as an MP, you took an oath, you must be held accountable for it. I think that suffices. I said yesterday, if you want more information for me to share, I'll take you back to my experience in 2011, when the chair of the Portfolio Committee will sit on the high chair and pass questions to her, and the questions come over to the police. We have those records.
I'm sure the honorable member will clarify when it is her turn. General, I'm glad that you brought up the decentralization of the SAPS to provinces as your recommendation, because it's actually a recommendation that we've been making for several years. Please, can you advise if this recommendation is based on your tenure in Pretoria or as a provincial commissioner? And do you agree that the legislation already allows for this?
Honorable Chair and members, I'm glad you asked that question. Maybe what is missed, people don't understand, is my movement in the organization. In 2018, when Gerald Cele, when the National Commission sent me to KZN to go and act, towards the end of the year of the 2018, the suspended provincial commissioner reached an agreement with the National Commission to exit the service. And then Gerald Cele approached me and he said, but I spoke to the National Commission that you must stay permanent in this post. And I said, no, I'm not willing to do that. And the minister, I think he would have discussed with the National Commission. I don't know if they discussed, but we were at Gateway in Durban and he had a press conference there. He briefed the media when he was doing the walkabout in December. He made an announcement that I am now appointed permanent as a provincial commissioner. And I did not agree to it. I had asked 2 things. I said, do you want me to be permanent here? You're going to have to give me more money so I can leave my house in Pretoria and come and buy property here where I can live. I'm on a top notch as is. I don't know if they will allow me to get into a notch higher than where I am. That's the first problem. The second problem is you rent a place for me in KZN and let me come and work here, but don't tax me on anything for the benefits that I'm going to get by staying in a fully furnished state house if you want me to be the acting provincial commissioner, because I've got a family and the house in Pretoria. I'm not willing to leave it. And so the National Commission then had to make a submission to both the PSA to ask if they can move me on a high notch, as well as SARS to ask whether can they exempt me from tax. Both responses came in January, February in 2019. They say, unfortunately, we cannot give you a high notch because the second notch from you is the DGs, and there can only be one DG in the SAPS. We can't take you there. The second one is we're not going to give you any excuse in terms of paying tax. If you stay if you get such a benefit, you're going to have to pay tax on. So based on that, they couldn't afford to keep me in Durban. Then I said, okay, well, tough luck, Minister. You should have not gone public about this. Should have waited first. Because the responses came, it was clear that I cannot then stay permanent. That's why I moved back to ORS in July that year when they brought General Jula to come and act. But when I was in Pretoria, I had an experience of 2011 up until 2019. When I was at Pretoria at ORS, I then felt for my own growth. I've been in a top management organization for so long. And I'm kind of familiar with operations at head office. How do you coordinate things and everything happening in the office? I've been involved with a lot of interventions in the country and then abroad. I then wanted to take a challenge of becoming a provincial commissioner because I can see that this is where the rubber hits the tar at the provincial level. The challenges there that the provincial commissioners have that we don't have at the national level. Let me volunteer to be one of them. So I approached the National Commission and said, if there's any vacancy coming up of the Provincial Commission, please send me there. And then the one of KZN was coming up and the National Commission said, okay, well, I'm going to send you there. And there was a delay, obvious, because they must consult the executive in the province until there was an agreement in March that, okay, we can go and start. That's how I went to KZN because I wanted a new challenge. I'm not in a good shape physically as I was when I was in Pretoria. Why I was in a good shape in Pretoria? Because you wake up in the morning, you go to the office at 7:30. Before you get to the office at 7:30, 5 o'clock, you're in the gym. Then you go to the office, you do administration, meetings and everything. 4 o'clock, you're guaranteed you're going home. You can still attend your children's school activities in the afternoon, do homework, whatever, then you sleep. You wake up in the morning. On the weekend, you can plan. If so-and-so has got a party on the weekend, you are guaranteed you are there. This phone doesn't ring. It doesn't ring at all. You can travel the length and breadth of the country. But as a provincial commission, you can't do that. Because the phone rings. The community wants service from you. So you must always be available. There's no time. Every gap you get, the time you are sitting here as a provincial commissioner, you have so many problems in the province that you must travel back as soon as you're done to go and attend to them. So the pressure at the province is that much higher as compared to the national level. So I wanted to feel that let me go there and see these men and women that are fighting with criminals on the ground. How does it feel like? Let me take the challenge. So that's how I ended up taking that position. So in taking that position is because it's a challenge for starters, but secondly, I knew for a fact that it's a 5-year contract. So consciously, I took a decision of going down because I did not want to sit in Pretoria and become a person who just draws a salary until I turn 60. So I knew I go to a province, it's a 5-year contract. The act says it's a management that must approach you, not you. So I knew for a fact that when I'm here, I must make a difference in these 5 years. And when the 5 years is over, then I'm gone. If the management wants to retain me, they will negotiate with me. If I agree, I'll stay. If I don't agree, then I'm gone. So it's a challenge that I took it on my own. It was not a promotion. It was just a transfer from the head office to go to the provinces. That's why I can sit at the province and still challenge all these people at the head office. Because I worked there for many years. And they cannot come and think that they're going to overrule what we're doing at the provincial level. We need to respect the legislation that empowers the provincial commissioners to do policing in the province.
Thank you, General. I just might follow up on that is because I did ask that, do you agree that there is legislation that already allows for the decentralization of policing powers to provinces?
The Constitution talks about one police. And I know that the ruling party at one stage with the minister who came to join us, they were trying to drive this merging of the law enforcement within municipality into the SAPS so that we have one police, because that's what the Constitution says. I'm not a legislature expert. I'm not a drafter of this law. I cannot interpret it. I'm not the court. So whether there is one existing or not existing, I can tell you about the current working arrangement. The working arrangement is that there's one man or woman in charge of the police in the country, and that person reports at the national level, not at the provincial level. The only engagement with the provincial level is informed by the section in the Constitution that allows the executive, in terms of 206, to have an oversight over the police, and allows the provincial commission in terms of 207(3) to engage with a provincial executive once in a while. But there's no budget coming from the province. There's no accounting to the province. Everything is centralized at the head office. That is the current practice. Is that what the law says? Do I interpret it correctly or not? I don't know. But the only thing that I'm saying is that the current words that are written in the Constitution allows this arrangement that you're having. So perhaps the words written in the Constitution must speak differently than what is written currently. I don't know how it's written about health. I don't know how it's written about transport. I don't know how it's written about education. But those are departments that are decentralized. But the police is directed at the national level. So how they operate, how is the act written? I never went to interrogate that. So it's that what I was making an example of, that because of the sheer size of the organization, the workload that exists there, to expect one person to be responsible for that, I think is too much to ask.
Thank you, General. So it is fair to say that you think that the South African police services will benefit through the decentralization of policing powers?
Not the South African Police Service, but the citizen of the Republic would benefit if we really interrogate, take the lessons from the past. I made an example of the Homeland Security we had then and how it worked. When we moved over into the new system, is it because we did not like what was happening back then, or we just wanted to create something new? We might want to start interrogating those things. And then we look at the international setup in different countries, how to better manage this sheer volume of work. Get expert academians from different universities might come with a better formula. And then we don't look at it political. We look at it in terms of the benefit to the citizens. What should be done? So that is not one party driving it, but it's a collective of government that says this will benefit the citizens of the country. That's the structure it in this fashion.
Thank you very much, General. Thank you, Chairperson. I'm finished with my questions for now.
Thank you so much. Democratic Alliance, Honorable Cameron and Honorable Skele.
Nothing.
Sure, I would do honestly.